Metal on metal until our dying day. Metal on metal. Metal on metal. Metal on metal. Metal on metal.
What was that?
Metal on metal. Bro.
Metal on metal, dude. I remember getting that was Forged in Fire, I think. No, that was the Metal on Metal album. Yeah, dude, I got into Anvil early on, and I was like, dude, who are these guys? Because they're not here's the thing, they're not included again on that heavy metal timeline that everybody puts out there. You know what I mean?
They get passed over.
They get passed over. Riot gets passed over.
Yeah.
The Rods get passed over. Exciter
Yeah.
got passed over. How do you pass over Exciter?
Just some of those like second tier metal bands or something, you know.
Yeah, I guess they just get kind of drowned out by the new wave of British heavy metal. And then things switched so quickly into thrash that, you know what I mean? It just kind of you got lost in the shuffle. Yeah. But for me, I was listening to those bands.
Yeah. Well, there might be, because there's a little bit of a cheese factor, a little more so than some of the other bands. Maybe they kind of got past their cheese stage where these guys didn't, except, I don't know about Exciter, but at least Anvil's always kind of had a cheese factor to them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Thumb Hang and...
Metal on metal, you know, everything was real tongue-in-cheek. We opened for those guys like 3-4 years ago.
Oh, that's right.
And it was a total disaster. It was on this tiny little stage, which is no big deal, and we set up in front of them. It was fine. You know, we met the guys; they were cool. Rob signed my shirt, my Anvil shirt that I had,
right.
And we hung out with Lips up backstage upstairs, and then this chick that was a big fan of our band, Creeper, stole his famous dildo.
No shit.
That he uses for his guitar solo that he's used since 1980. Wow. She stole it that night, and Jerry Warden blamed us because. And he wouldn't let it go. He goes, I know you. I know Tex. I know Jimmy Fritz. He goes, I ain't even mad. I think it was funny. There's no way y'all didn't do it. I said, dude, we did not take that. I said, Jimmy found it like on your truck or something in the parking lot and brought it back to give it to Lips. So it looked like we had something to do with it when really it was that chick the whole time, but Lips would not let it go. I had left. So I was like, I'm out of here. I had left. Jerry Warden would not let it go either. He's like, I had to mail it to him in Canada or something in different pieces because we found one piece here and one piece there. All this shit. He was so pissed off, though, man.
Over the dildo.
Over the dildo. Yep.
Anyway, Todd Pack, how was your week, man?
Oh, not bad. Not bad. Did a lot of potential filming this weekend, and tried to get some B-roll footage for some video stuff. It's kind of how I spent my weekend.
So, for the new
Iron Jaw video.
Iron Jaw, yeah. For those who don't know, Todd sings for the Texas heavy metal band Iron Jaw.
IronJawFacebook.com.
Not to be confused with Plastic Jaw. Good. I saw you and Sherry got out to the range.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was killer. I hadn't shot a gun in a long, long ass time, and we have purchased a couple of protective items for the household
Mm-hmm.
over the last year or so. So we got out and yeah, it was badass actually. We tried all kinds of guns. It was ladies' night actually, where ladies get in for free and ladies can try any gun they want for free.
No kidding.
So we tried 3 or 4 different pistols, and plus we were working ours in too. We've got this badass shotgun we bought, this Remington we bought too, that you kind of need an open field for it because it's just one of those, you can't really put it up to your shoulder. It's one of those, riflemen fucking bow, blowing watermelons to smithereens and shit. So you need some space.
So you didn't take that one
to a little wide, to a little lane,
You didn't take that one to the indoor range.
Mm-mm. We didn't even bother. We're like, let's work on this one, and then let's see if we like some of these other guns. And
So you guys gonna work on any dry firing?
we what?
Dry firing? You gonna work on any dry firing?
I don't even know what the hell that is.
So I got one of these.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an air gun, but it's the exact same
Oh,
size and workings as a SIG P365, which would be,
we tried one of those. Actually.
yeah, somebody's everyday carry type thing.
Right.
So just in order to, like, for my kids, and just to drawing from the holster, from the waist,
Yeah.
grip, gun safety,
Mm-hmm.
working with mistakes and all that kind of crap. So
Yeah.
you have it working with CO2 cartridge in the mag, and
No, we were live.
yeah, you were
live bullets.
Yeah.
Nervous as hell. Like, okay, be careful. Set it down.
There's a great video of there's a guy who's a pro gun guy, young guy actually, and I met him and I know his family, but his name is Lucas Botkin, and he has this page called T-Rex Arms, and hundreds of thousands of followers, and he's fast as hell with every kind of gun you can imagine. But he did a video that's become real popular, and people have done reviews of his video. And the video is, can airsoft translate into actual real guns? So they had this guy who's got his own little Instagram account, Laiku Tactical. He's from Japan, this young guy. And you can't own firearms in Japan. So all you can get is airsoft. So he's watching videos on YouTube of Lucas and them replicating it, and he's got the rifles and the handguns, and he's shooting like a pro, like lightning fast and all that kind of stuff. So they were like, well, everybody says it doesn't translate. So they flew him over here. And he's never shot a gun before, dude.
Right.
And once he got used to the recoil,
Yeah.
he was shooting better than SWAT and police and a lot of military guys, dude. Because he already had
that answers the question.
he already had all the movements down. He knew how to clear his weapon. He knew, if something happens, he knew what to do, all his draws, etc. So Lucas had him on the timer and everything, dude, and he was well under everything that was just, standard. He was well under on his time, fast as hell, and never fired a gun before. So
Wow.
I was like, all right, well, then that's what you want to train on, dry firing. Like the guy Lucas said, all I know is I'm going home and I'm going to dry fire for 4 hours tonight. So, you know what I mean? So that because that has to be second nature to you. I mean, Mac, when I went out with Mac to his course, he just drilled that in you, just that fundamentals. Because when I first went on the range with Mac, and that's intimidating, there's a bunch of guys,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, who know what they're
yeah.
doing. And of course, then you got Mac, who's the king of them all. And I'm having to learn everything at the same time. Mac just kicked me in the deep end, dude. He was like, the intro beginners class, which is supposed to be 2 days because no other beginners showed up. He was like, all right, dude, I'm going to make this real quick. Beginners class was about an hour.
Dude, we had nobody training us either. We talked to a guy before. He gave us a couple little things, and we just went out there, and we knew how to load them and do all that other stuff. But as far as actually shooting that gun, the first time we'd shot any of those guns before. So it was a trip. It took a minute to get comfortable. I don't know what this chick was shooting next to me. There was a chick shooting that sounded like a goddamn cannon. It was like, boom, boom, boom. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Whatever she's shooting, it sounds deadly, bro. It was like, God damn.
Yeah. So
There was a lot. It was ladies' night, so there was a ton of women there shooting
right,
guns.
right.
Yeah, learning how to shoot guns.
That's a dangerous place to be, bro.
Yeah. Stay in your lane.
Todd was like head on a swivel, baby. But yeah, because like for example, at an indoor range, you're typically not allowed to draw from the holster.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we weren't doing anything like that.
Right. So, like when I trained with Mac, I had a holster on the hip, and I had a mag holder over here to draw mag. So I said, listen, that was great, but that's not practical for me because I'm not going to walk around like a sheriff with a sidearm. It's going to be in my waist. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I need to learn how to pull my shirt up and draw from the waist, draw from the waist, draw from the waist. So what was great is trigger control, line of sight, just, getting all of that stuff worked out. So just with, being able now, especially for my kids, to be able to just work on their draw, work on their grip, work on their trigger control, malfunctions, mag change. I got 2 mags for them, so they can switch mags out and keep firing and all that kind of stuff. So that way, when they do transfer to a range and it goes live, then all they got to do is get used to the recoil. Once they get used to the recoil, which just take a few shots, they're going to start, hitting center mass and getting all their groupings tight and that kind of stuff. Because you don't want to be, having somebody breaking into your house middle of the night and you're like, when's the last time I shot? When's the last time I handled my gun? Do I know the status of my gun?
Right. Exactly.
That's what one of the first things Max said. Max said, listen, I know what the 4 or 5 rules, that everybody's supposed to know about guns. He goes, but I'm going to change that first one. He was talking about knowing the status of your gun.
Yeah.
And so,
Makes sense. Especially after you're now shooting, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Just, where, is something in the chamber and, where am I at? And you can lose track of all that when you're trying to get all of it together at the same time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, under pressure and somebody's coming at you, and if it was for real, it's a whole. It's a whole story.
Well, like even when like the gun I was using at Max range had 15 rounds.
Yeah.
And so Mac's like, all right, this next drill is 10 rounds. So I want, 2 here, I want 2 here, and I want 6, rapid fire. So boom, boom, boom on this dot, boom, boom on that circle, and then 6 rapid fire. And so you're like, no, I'm still thinking about everything about where my grip is and all that. So into all this, and one thing's jammed, and I'm checking something. I said, well, I forgot the count.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
I'm like, what the dude next? What bullet am I on? I'm like, dude, I have no idea.
You're just hoping you don't shoot yourself in the foot and shit. You're just hoping that first.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, normally, you would take a lot more time to get acclimated in a beginner's type of class. But, I'm training with Delta Force, and there's LEO in the class, and there's other people who are, they go out to the range. This is what they do, and they just go to classes. And after that, I kind of got it. I can see why they do that. They don't care whether it's a beginner. They're just going to go out there and shoot with some people who are shooting, and Mac's there so they can get some tippers. They don't care.
Yeah.
So nobody gives a damn that it said beginner's class. He goes, watch, dude, every time I do a beginner's class, no freaking beginners show up. All experienced shooters. So he comes out prepared for a beginner's class, and it's nothing but experienced shooters. And I'm the only motherfucker out there.
How do I put this bullet? How do I get this first bullet in the mag?
First thing I told him, I gotta go, Mac, listen, I don't want to embarrass myself, but where the batteries go, bro.
You got an extension cord for this thing, man? Looks like it's gonna have to be a really long one.
That's right. Yeah, so he was like, all right, dude, beginner's class, 5 minutes, and then let's get out there. 50 yards, do this. But he was doing like, both hands, strong hand, support hand. And that's weird, man.
Yeah.
And this is all 9mm. So that's a kick, bro.
Yeah.
With your weak hand?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be weird to have.
You know what I mean?
With my weak hand.
Yeah. And then but then he's got you running drills, so it's like he puts cones on the ground. So you go from the middle, you shoot, then to this cone with your weak hand, then back to the middle with both hands, then to the other side with your strong hand. And you got to go do this like X, always back to the
Yeah.
middle. So it's always
That
throwing
was-
these mind games on you, man.
Completely, dude. That's one of those things when you're done, even when we went to the range, I was exhausted. It's like, it's so intense and so, you're just so trying to be so careful and trying, and all this other shit's going on around you. And you're just like, all right, it's been a long time since I shot a gun. That felt good. I'm glad that's over.
Yeah.
I got to go to bed. I'm tired.
Well, this was cool
My
because
back hurt.
yeah, because this was all day for 2 days.
Oh, God.
All right, so
It's like an hour.
so it was outside. So we're there all day for 2 days, running drills, and what killed me the most was reloading.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are hard to reload. These 15 mags, 15 bullet mags.
Oh, man, that would be a bitch. We got this little device you can do. You put it on there and push
Well,
it down.
I finally did that when my thumbs,
Yeah.
because Max just on a 40. He's got a 40. He got a 1911 45. He's just throwing them in there, man. I'm like, dude, this is all new to me.
Yeah.
But 2 days of that. But dude, I can tell you what, I can see why. Well, people do it because you don't have time to think about anything else.
Yeah.
And everybody's talking is guns. Nobody's just, except maybe lunch a little bit, you're kind of bullshitting or whatever. But for the most part, everybody's talking about guns, what they have and what they're doing and the drill and what he just said and what we should, how she should hold this. So for 2 days, you're not doing anything but that. And it's actually kind of cool because I didn't have time to text. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like but you're totally absorbed. It's not like, but it's something that you're interested in. It's something that you're learning. It's a whole new skill. And so it's like you want to talk about like a total escape, man, for 2 days. It's just like if you were like in rehearsals or something for like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where you just you left the world behind. You're not calling home. You're not talking to anybody. You're not checking any Facebook or any of that bullshit. You're just completely absorbed in the skill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's pretty badass.
Yeah, that is badass. I mean, there's so many new gun owners out there these days.
Oh, yeah.
Not everyone, but there's a lot of new gun owners because everybody kind of, ran and got guns to the point where they're sold out.
Yeah.
You can barely find a gun in some of these places.
Well, yeah, I mean, the price of ammo has gone up considerably. So you consider that couple, that lawyer and his wife in, what was it, Missouri?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who came out and she walks around with her finger on the trigger, waving the gun at people, and
he's just kind of like this and stuff, just kind of like, get out of my yard.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my God, I saw that too. I was like, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy, man. But anyway, now you do have all of these new gun owners, so people have to learn. And so you think, oh, well, I'll just go to a range and shoot them a few times and that's it. Well, it's a lot more than that. And, so working with somebody like Mac, who's like a gun professional's gun professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but then watching him, because he would go and do the drills with us and stuff. It's like
Yeah, I've seen him. I've watched some of his videos and shit.
ballet, man. He was like graceful and shit. Going up on 1 foot and, all of that.
I've seen the dude lift like kettlebells and jump up on a pole or something and then shoot some shit and then jump down, lift, bench press a car or something, then fucking
and then shoot.
And then shoot, yeah.
Yeah, it's like anything he can to kind of mimic, elevated heart rate and stress and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, it's a trip, man.
Yeah. So if anybody's thinking about it, the kind of world we're in right now, you want to have some sort of defense, and that's one way to do it. Not the only way to do it. I think
learn karate.
Well, I mean, I having worked with Mac now on the podcast, he's an expert in all that kind of crap. And the one thing that you learn is that there's so many different layers to personal defense. So many different layers. The number one being avoiding what you know is an obvious situation. So when you see these cars, for example, going through protests and getting all into the midst of that stuff, well, what are you doing there? Don't even be there. Don't even be downtown. Don't even be in some of these places. That's one thing. And the second layer is situational awareness, which is something we're losing.
Right.
So
yeah, people are glued to their phone.
Yeah, they're glued to their phone, and so they're not watching. They're not looking around. They're not, you think of the animals, like we were outside shooting that gun, and what I didn't see at first was a little family of deer was coming through our woods. So I said, oh, shit, I didn't even think of them being there. So I said, shoot them. No. So we, obviously stopped doing what we were doing, but they're wired to, be always on aware for predators. Birds always aware for predators. Animals are always aware for predators. We've lost that basic instinct. And so situational awareness is key. Where you go into a store, go into a restaurant, where are you going to sit? You're going to see the door. You know where the exits are. Do you know how to get out? This is not paranoid either, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen enough buildings shot up to know you need to know your exit points. You need to know, keep an eye on things and, look at things and, especially like shopping, malls and parking lots and all that kind of stuff. So there's several layers of the defense. And when it comes to a house, man, dogs.
Yeah.
Because most people are not going to want to jack with a dog.
Yeah.
Like Scooter.
Yeah. We got Scooter. We got an alarm system, and we got a couple of guns. And
now, does Max bark?
oh yeah, God Almighty! They were just barking. I'm surprised you couldn't hear them.
Oh.
You paused for a second. I heard the dogs barking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they just sit out with their head on the windowsill, just waiting for anything to walk by. How dare you walk your dog past my window?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's it's something we all got to be aware of. Always scan your 5 and 25, as they say. Look 5 yards ahead of you, then look 25 yards beyond. And sometimes it's just that eye contact, as Max says, that can deter somebody else because it takes away the element of surprise.
Right.
And one time I was at his house, and we just finished the podcast, and he goes, "You got a flashlight on you, man?" I'm like,
"Is this a test?"
I'm like, "No, dude." He's like, "All right, hold on."
God damn it.
So he comes back, dude, with this badass tactical flashlight. He goes, "Here." He goes, "Keep this on you all times, man." I'm like, all time?
Dude, you remember the movie Pink Panther?
Oh, yeah.
The couple of two or three Pink Panthers with, was it Peter Sellers?
Yeah.
And then he had that one dude that was always, the Asian dude who would always attack him. He would on purpose to keep him alert. He'd come home from something and the dude be hiding out and they'd get in this big fight and shit.
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, basically that. Yeah. So anyway, tonight, man, we're talking about metal on metal, power of the daily grind. That's why we started out with Anvil. And so we're going to go into just a little bit about this. Again, guys, we're getting our feet with Metal Motivation TV. But metal on metal, power of the daily grind. Now, Todd, I know you can't see the screen necessarily in your window, but are you seeing the screen on your computer?
Let me see. I have to minimize this one. So if I do that, I can't see the comments, but I can see. If I refresh, I can see it. But it might have a little bit of a delay on it, too.
Right,
When you
right.
post something.
All right, but you got what I sent you earlier, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the material.
Metal on metal, power of the daily grind. This is something that's really important to me because I think that people tend to discount their everydays. There's an old friend of mine used to say that the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. And that's true. And so people wonder when life's going to change, but they're looking for things to change outside of them, not something to change inside of them. So they're like, okay, well, maybe the next election, or maybe if I get a new job, or if I get a new boyfriend or girlfriend, or I move somewhere else, or my financials, always waiting for something to happen or change outside of them instead of seeing that they're the impetus of change. And that begins with every day.
Man, there's something to be said about routine. I'm a very routine person for sure. I wouldn't say I'm the best at multitasking, but I'm very good at being routine. Therefore, I don't have to be good at multitasking because I've figured out a way. I know that I'm not, so I know that I have to keep things in order and keep things in a certain place, and kind of same thing, same time, kind of eat around the same time, and do things at work the same. I put shit in the same place, and to be honest with you, the weekend sometimes jacks me up because I'm not going to be on the same exact routine. I'm not going to get up at the same time. I'm not going to eat at the same time. I'm not going to do a lot of things that I do during the week that keep me going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you understand the power of every day, then you're going to learn to celebrate your daily grind rather than dread it, because it's not something to dread. It's something to dominate and exploit. And the key element here is time and pressure. And that's something that's huge for me. It's how I live, time and pressure. Because time and pressure over an extended period of time is how mountains get created. It changes the face of the earth. So imagine what that sort of thing can do for your life if you're consistent at it. And so that's where that relentless consistency comes in, where you're just working on something day after day, year after year, until something moves, until something breaks. Now, there's a lot of bands, you know what I mean, who were like that. We talked in the past about Pantera, where you remember back in our day, man, we saw those guys had a few albums out and were making the rounds in our neighborhood, long before they ever scored it in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, they were doing 3 sets a night, probably like, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday through Saturday at least, and then would travel to the next city and do the same thing. Back then, you'd play one bar for the whole week.
Right.
And then you'd move on to the next city, and some other band would come to town, and they'd play for a week. 3 sets nonstop, plus the rehearsal, plus, the travel. And then, that's how a guy like Dimebag or Vinny or Rex never had a regular job in their life.
Right.
Because they were grinding that way, because that is a grind. Don't get it wrong, man. Doing that is just as much of a grind, if not more of a grind, than a 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you're stuck in close quarters with a bunch of other people, and you're just going to the same old thing. Routine is over and over again. But again, it's that time and pressure over time where opportunities begin to get created. And that's why I never discount relationships, dude. Because for me, I've never worked for a company. I've never worked for the state, the government. I'm not an institutional guy. You know what I mean? I've kind of always been on my own vocationally. And so you learn how important relationships are. Your connections, bruh. You got, you learn to rely upon those connections, and because you never know what's going to open up, you never know what's going to come and, back and reward you or something like that. And so again, it's about that daily, relentless pressure. And number 2, let's see here if I can get this to work. Come on, man. Don't neglect the power of every day. I'm going to read this. Nothing is more neglected than the power of every day. That's the sheer force of you grinding out your life's plans in a consistent daily routine. With each day, you move closer to your dreams. With each 24-hour span, you are quickening the pace of the arrival of your goals. You have to look at it that way. If you don't dress it up, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're just going to consider it to be drudgery and something to dread. So
nothing is more neglected than the power of every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people, they get stuck in a rut like we talked about before. people don't appreciate the power of the daily grind because it seems like a grind.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of kind of thinking about where it's going to lead them, they're kind of more thinking about in the moment. You know how it is on Mondays, man. Everybody's got those Monday blues.
Right.
For me, sometimes Monday is almost a break from the weekend. It's almost like, okay, if I've been doing a lot of stuff, and I'm like, okay, I can almost use this one day to get away and get out of here.
Right.
It's Tuesday, I really hate. Seriously, it's like Monday could be a break, but it sure would be nice to get back to what I was doing now that it's Tuesday. I've gotten away from that for a day. Sure would be nice to go back to, because Monday's kind of the day you kind of reflect on everything you did over the weekend.
Right.
While you're at work, thinking about what you did over the weekend of the stuff you really like to do. And then Tuesday, you're like, man, it'd be nice to get back to that because I've kind of thought about it. I've had a minute away from it. I know how to improve. You start thinking about your song or whatever it was you did over the weekend, especially if you're trying to start a new business or something.
Right.
Then you're like, I'm ready to go back, man.
So what if they sang that song, Tuesdays? What's that, the Mamas and the Papas?
Yeah, Monday.
For Todd, it's Tuesday. Yeah, so don't neglect the power of every day because that's where the secret of your future is actually hidden. Because it's in that 24-hour span that you gain ground on anything else that you're working on. But that means sacrifice. That means you got to spend less time doing other things. We all love to be entertained, man. I mean, I get it. I understand all that. But there's a price that comes with that.
Yeah, and you realize that as you get older and time starts to really fly.
Yeah.
Everyone always says, boy, sure, it's already another year, it's already 2 years, and it's true. And everyone says it's kind of a cliche thing to say, but as you get older, that time flies by even faster. I mean, we're already halfway through this year.
Yeah.
What a fucked up year this has been.
Oh my
We're already
gosh.
halfway through it, and probably there's a lot of people that didn't do a lot of shit because a lot of things their routine was definitely thrown off this year.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. That's because people don't prepare for these things, because they don't, think of, okay, if this happens, then I'm going to do this, and what happens if that? They just assume the future is going to resemble the past, and it doesn't. You got to be prepared. You got to be ready for changes. Like we said before, who'd have thought that being a server or a bartender, would be, that was always the go-to. That was always the backup plan, man. I can always go, because I waited tables. If the worst and the worst and the worst and the worst happened, I know that I could literally go in and start waiting tables and, I'm good with people. I can do whatever. It's not a big deal. But you can't, that's coveted now.
Yeah.
So anything can change. So don't neglect the power of your everyday because that's how you create the future. Number 3, your future is determined by what happens today. This is why you have to change the way you think about your daily grind. You can't see it as negative, draining, and defeating because it's a daily grind that creates the opportunity for advancement. It does. Every day, that daily grind. But how you take advantage of it, because Todd, you can, like yourself, you drive to work and you spend a day and it's hot outside. Sure, you're in the AC, but you got to deal with everything. And then you come home and you're not necessarily looking to get busy on something else.
Well, I'm the kind of person that, like I said, I'll be working on music or something on the weekend, and then on Monday, I'll be listening to it on the way to work. I'm in the car listening to whatever has been created, listening to it in the truck, cranked up, going to work, listening to it some more, maybe changing a couple of lines, maybe writing some more lyrics to it when there's any in between time. I always work on stuff. I write almost all my lyrics at work.
Okay. Right.
Because you start doing your thing. Some stuff you don't have to think about, stuff you're so used to doing, you're so routine about it that you can do it with your eyes closed. So you start, kind of creating more music and more lyrics and more things like that. And then you come home and maybe you'll work on it and I'll be like, hey babe, hold on. I'll be right with you. I got this idea. I got to lay it down real quick and then I'll be in there. Just 30 minutes.
Right.
3 hours later, she's like, you hungry yet? I'm like, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Come
I'm
out of
sorry.
the cave.
I'm sorry. And then you got rehearsal.
Yeah.
Like in my case, we do this show on Monday. I got rehearsal on Tuesday. I used to have rehearsal on Thursdays. Do it on Thursdays as much because there's no shows to rehearse for. And then on Sundays, I work on music. So that's how I work a regular job and squeeze in the music at the same time.
What are you doing Monday?
You got to make some sacrifices. You got to
Wait.
I'm not coming home after work. I'm going to rehearsal. I'll be home at 9 o'clock.
Right. What do you do on Monday nights?
I do this. Now.
Now.
Before, I watched Monday Night Football. No, I never watched Monday.
Number 4, how to undermine your failure. The daily grind is not something to dread. It's something to dominate and exploit. Life isn't fair, so you can't play like it is. Each day provides you the chance to undermine your own failure. You should plot and conspire against your own self-doubt.
That's a good line, man.
And that's something that you can do daily, like what Todd was talking about, working on lyrics and stuff like that. You can be positive, whether it's controlling it yourself, listening to something positive, or whatever it is. Either way, you are continually undermining your self-doubt because your mind will not sit idle. I always say, give your mind something useful to chew on, or it will nibble on the trivial. It'll just keep snacking on that stuff all day long, and you don't think it's anything because you don't feel any physical manifestations from it, but it is just reinforcing the person you don't want to be. Instead of in that job you don't like right now, you're rewiring your mind, getting yourself ready for your next season, getting yourself ready for your next level, and making yourself more valuable where you are.
Yeah, and I think some people feel defined by their work unless they're doing a job they don't like doing. Like for me, I'm not defined by my job. I'm kind of defined by what I do outside my job, musician-wise.
Right.
The job is something I have to do in order to be a musician at this stage in my life. And I think that's hard for people to be able to. You've got to find that time you've got to make sacrifices. You've got to set aside time and say, these are the days I'm going to come home and I'm going to work on this and work on that. If you're trying to get out of that job that you consider a grind, that's grinding you down.
Right. And
you've got to find other ways to squeeze in that other stuff that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's way too easy to get comfortable, especially the older you get. You're not as hungry as you used to be, necessarily when you're young. And you just feel like you're full of piss and vinegar when you're young. But then stuff changes. You've had some kids. You got responsibilities. Right. You know what I mean? You got different stuff pulling on you than you had when you were by yourself, single, and could go anywhere and do anything you wanted, any time you wanted. Now you can't anymore. But the temptation at that point is, man, life is a lot easier if I don't buck things. Life is a lot easier if I don't go after things. Life is a lot easier if I don't have any goals. Yeah. What's so bad about that? What's so bad about just remaining where you are? Well, you're not breaking any laws by doing that. That's for damn sure. But now you've got two things. You've got, number one, what your resident potential still is. And number two, now you've got a world that's constantly changing. I think 2020 showed everybody that, because before then we were isolated to terror attacks and like overseas wars.
Right.
And maybe a close election, but it never got crazier than that.
Yeah, and I think I kind of lost my train of thought, but I think people. I don't remember what I was going to say.
But you know what I'm saying? In other words, people, they're not. We think again the future is going to resemble the past. So we were all coming into 2020 thinking the economy's good. So this is weird. Everybody that I knew, I work with some serious people, man. I'm hooked up with serious people, and everybody had serious freaking goals for this year, serious business goals, serious physical goals. I mean, they were going to do some crazy shit this year, but Next thing you know, everybody is shut down. Nobody had this in mind.
Yeah, I know what I was going to say. If you're listening to Metal Motivation, you're most likely not one of those kinds of people who are just like, well, this is good enough. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything else. I mean, you're already listening to this
Right.
for a reason, even if it's something you're just kind of listening to motivate you in the future. You know what I mean? I mean, you're kind of like almost building ammunition for yourself. You're just kind of listening to positive, positive comments and positive videos, and you're just taking it all in and getting ready to make your move.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking a lot about this lately in some of the other groups that I coach in, and it's about getting back to your post. Your post is you leave the guard, the sentinel at their post, right? Be at your post, right? That's the place. You're the watchman, you're the guardian, you're at your post. In life, there's a post for you to fulfill. And that means when you're fully functional, firing on all 5 cylinders, 6 cylinders, 8 cylinders, however big your engine is, that you're firing on all cylinders, you are in your position to maximize your life, do your thing, achieve your goals, whatever that looks like. That's your post. Changing the world, being an influence, that's your post. And as much as I enjoy seeing people, work through their stuff, we need them to work through their stuff so that they can get back to their post. I don't want to see people forever picking lint out of their damn navels, constant introspection, trying to go over the same ground over and over again about why life has mistreated them so bad and why their past had to be so bad and their latest hang up or getting control of their weight or getting control of this or getting control. I want them to do that. And I'll share as many stuff as principles as I know to help them. But the objective here is not for you to keep picking lint out of your navel forever. The objective here is to get you fixed so you can get back in the fight. So you can get back in the game. So you can get back to, being at your post, serving at your post. Because right now, we got a bunch of empty posts out there. We can all sit back and
to their naval post, bro.
That's right. We can all sit back and complain about how bad the world is from in front of our television and behind our keyboard.
Well, it's easy these days because everyone does it for you. All you have to do is join in.
Right.
Especially on a medium like Facebook. There's so much of that going on that, well, you can get wrapped up in it, quick.
Oh yeah.
Just go down the feed, start reading something that sometimes has nothing to even do with it originally, but it'll end up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, when I talk to people about coaching, people ask me like, hey, do you do any one-on-one coaching? I'll say, sometimes. But here's my deal. If you're not willing to get dead serious about fixing your nutrition, your health, your nutrition, and fitness first, I'm not coaching you. And they're like, what? Yeah, if you're not ready to get your health in order, nutrition and fitness, if you're not willing to do that, I ain't coaching you. Because what you'll find out is if you do get that worked out, you're going to find out you don't even need me. Because half the shit you're dealing with is because of the crap you put in your body. And the way your body feels is because you don't move it. And that translates to you emotionally, and it makes bad things worse. And your mind gets involved and exaggerates it, and you end up in this vicious cycle from which you cannot escape. I will start you just on nutrition and fitness. That will then lead to sound sleep. And I guarantee you won't even need me, man. You'll be your own coach at that point. But
that's interesting, though, because that also gives people a definite place to start that they may not have even thought of. Guarantee it probably didn't even think of. Mm-hmm. If you to put that out there and say you need to start here, now all they got to do is do that dreadful thing that most people can't do, and that's get their ass in the gym and do.
Yeah.
That's a monster for people, man.
Dude, I started the ketogenic diet in January of 2016. So It's been, what, 4.5 years now.
Right.
Best decision I ever made. And it amped up once I started testing my blood to test my ketone levels. So I knew how different foods were affecting me. Once I did that, it escalated and I went into complete control to where now, when my ketone levels are flowing, and because of the diet, the way I eat, etc., dude, especially if I sleep the night before, I have not felt that good since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And that's no joke. That is no joke. I had not felt that good since I was a little kid. Not a teenager, a little kid. Because I'm no longer running on sugar. Sugar is not my fuel source. It's just ketones. The brain loves ketones. It's clean, it's pure energy. And once that's combined with sound sleep plus physical exercise, dude, it's life. So people are like, I'll have people writing, they'll be like, CJ, if you ever have, I know you're always out there for people, but if you're ever struggling, bro, I'm here, you can write to me. I'm like, dude, it ain't going to happen, Captain. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? I said, dude, it ain't ever that bad. It ain't ever that bad. And because I spent so many years in meditation and prayer and study and training and diet and all of that. And just trying to be a happy person. Despite all the crazy stuff that goes on in the world. My life hasn't been perfect. Todd, you know. Me and Todd walked through some dark times. But it didn't matter. Because ultimately it's going to come back to that attitude. It's going to come back to that mindset.
It didn't matter because we had a bacon cheeseburger with no bread.
That's the key.
Feeling good.
That's the key. With avocado on it.
With avocado. A lot of avocado. And a salad.
That's right. And that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
That's interesting, man. I mean, okay, so when you tell people, first thing you got to do is get your nutrition and your physical shit together. How often does that actually happen? And they go, okay.
No, never once.
I thought that might be the never once.
Never once.
So you don't do a lot of personal coaching?
I don't do any personal coaching. No. The only coaching I do one-on-one now is for the elite musicians in the Savvy Musician Academy. Mm-hmm. That's all I do. And that's talking about their branding or something like that. That's it. But no, the life coaching thing, I won't even mess with it because people want to have one. They just want to feel good. I'm like, well, go watch Rocky. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the same effect. What good is an hour with me going to do you? You're going to be right back to your default position. It's because of what's happening in your everyday. That's why you are where you are. It's not because your child just died or your husband or wife just died or you just got the report that you have terminal cancer. So why are you calling me? You're not calling me for a tragedy in your life. You're calling me because of your everyday life. That's what you don't like. You're in a rut. You're stuck. You can't find yourself anymore. You feel useless. And when you feel useless, you start to condemn yourself. That's the worst thing you can do. Don't condemn yourself. People do that. But condemn is actually not a psychological term. It's a construction term, right? When you condemn buildings. Mm-hmm. Right? If a building is no longer fit for use, you condemn the building. So don't condemn yourself as if you're unfit for use. You know what I mean? You don't need to condemn yourself. You need to correct yourself. Change your daily habits, man. Start doing it. It doesn't have to be radical. Just little things. You need some little victories in your life. You got where you are because of a bunch of little defeats. You build yourself up with a bunch of little victories.
I agree with that, too. I think, too, and that goes especially with diet. And when people go, okay, starting Monday, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to cut out this. I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to stop. They just, they do all this drastic shit.
Yeah, it's too much.
That just makes them feel like hell. They're starving. They're sore, Yeah. And then after a couple of weeks, they cheat. That's the other thing, too. If people cheat on a diet or something like that, they think, oh, well, it's over.
Yeah.
I've cheated. I fucked it up.
Right.
I can't. It's not like, no, you can just get right back to where you were. It's just
Get
one
right back
day.
to it. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's really the hard thing for people is they do, like you said, small victories. They do so much at one time. I've seen it happen so many times for people going to the gym. I'm going to start doing this, and this, and I'm like, man, that's just a lot of drastic shit. Why don't you just start going to the gym, or why don't you just start eating right
Right.
first, and then add on this, and then add on that, and then take that to the next level instead of just going, I'm changing everything today,
Right.
and then in 3 weeks you're done with it.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
paying for a gym membership for months that you never go to.
Right. Yeah. So you want to do things incrementally. So if you're not doing much of anything now, if your diet sucks and you're not training, you're not doing anything different now, don't get so inspired that you do what Todd just said. Commit to too much, because you can't do that.
Yeah, just change your diet. Start with changing your diet.
Yeah, just
You know,
change
do
little
that
things.
do that for a few weeks, then start working out. Then
Yeah.
start doing this and add some things to it. Because I think that's why people fail, because it's such a drastic change.
Yeah.
And they don't feel good at first. They feel miserable, because
Yeah.
they're so sore from working out and they're so damn hungry from not doing this and they're so whatever.
Right.
I think that's the main reason people in nutrition and as far as physical.
Yeah, and
fail.
yeah, you got to learn about nutrition. That takes a little effort, because everybody just think, oh, well, I'm going to eat this and this and this, and because I think that's healthy food. They don't know what healthy food is.
Yeah.
You don't know your body type. For some people, for example, cruciferous vegetables are bad for their gut,
Yeah.
right? But you think, well, what's wrong with eating cruciferous vegetables? Well, if you've got gut issues, it's very, very bad. Some people have got perpetual acid reflux, right? Heartburn that they just can't seem to get away. Has to do with what you're eating. Has to do with the pH balance in your gut. You know what I mean? You're constipated. You're not regular. All kinds of crazy stuff, and this stuff keeps you up at night. And angst is a big thing. Angst is that turmoil that exists right under the surface. It's the anxiety that you can't really detect, but it's always there.
Yeah.
It's always there. Because the world is unsure all by itself, so that'll give you enough to be concerned about. But what really is the problem is that because you don't regulate your life comprehensively, meaning every area of your life, because you're not a governor of your life, you just kind of let life happen instead of making life happen, then you don't feel, you are not in control. You know that. And that adds to your angst. That adds to your anxiety. One of the best cures for depression, well, to help you with depression and anxiety and all these things, is self-discipline. You got to give yourself something to be happy about. You got to give yourself something to be proud of yourself about. Don't feel good about poor performance. That's what I hate about a lot of motivational speakers. They're just like, man, feel good to feel good for feel good's sake. No. You know what I mean? No, there's no reason to feel good about poor performance. You should feel bad about it, but not in a way where you condemn yourself. But we just say, all right, that sucked. I need to change it.
I think that's a good way of putting it too. Angst is a good way. You don't hear that word very often, but that is a good word, because it's not quite anxiety to the level of depression or of not being able to function, but it's just that little thing that's eating at you.
Yeah.
That's
what gets most people.
And as far as nutrition and stuff goes, it is, man, these days there's so much information and everybody knows everything. You can't even watch a YouTube video without some dude without a shirt on coming on and wanting to do a 30-minute commercial before you just want to watch Wasp or something on the goddamn YouTube. And you got this dude who knows everything about everything, telling you, and there's so much information out there that's misleading. And you got all these experts, drink this celery juice, and I did this for 6 months and I was healed, and all this, man, it gets confusing, and it's harder than it ever used to be. But like you said, people don't know the right things to eat, and like you said too, they don't know their body type, which is very important, because I have issues like that. There are certain things that I cannot eat, that I know, that are normally healthy for most people, but they don't agree with me. Pizza's not one of them.
Thank God for that, bro.
Pizza with broccoli on it is. That's not good for anybody.
Cruciferous pizza is not good for anybody. That'll give you angst.
But I'll tell you what is good, speaking of cruciferous, is cauliflower pizza dough. It's actually really good.
Yeah, we make that shit day in and day out. I just made one for my kid the other night.
It's surprisingly good, and even cauliflower mashed potatoes is actually good
Yep,
too.
yep, yeah.
And I hate cauliflower on its own.
What I do is I'll take they'll have the pre-made cauliflower mashed potatoes,
Yeah.
and so what I'll do is I'll fry up some bacon, right? A couple strips of bacon, chop all that up into like bacon bits, and then once I take that thing out of oven or microwave and it's steaming hot, I'll take shredded cheddar cheese and I'll just dump a ton of it in there and mix that in with the bacon and maybe a little bit of butter, man.
It's so funny because all those things you're describing, most people would think that is not, and there's no way that
Oh,
is a healthy
it's
diet.
totally
Bacon
healthy.
and shit,
It's totally
cheese.
it's totally healthy,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Fats are healthy as hell. That's the thing. Is one of the worst things you can eat is something that says low fat, because that means it's loaded with sugars and loaded with carbohydrates and loaded with processed items.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
low fat's made people more fat than anything ever.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we have an obesity epidemic. We have a diabetes epidemic because of that stuff.
In children too, even.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I have to go to the grocery store every 2 to 3 days. Like I got to go tomorrow because everything I eat is fresh.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm out. I'm out of avocados. I'm out of bacon. I'm out of organic salads, etc. And I eat a lot of greens. I eat primarily salads because those are loaded with vitamins. And that's the other thing is mineral deficiencies. I take trace minerals every day. I also have, I do vitamin D3, I do zinc, I do magnesium. Magnesium is huge, especially for people who might struggle a little bit with sleep. Magnesium is really, really good for that because it's a calming mineral. You got to do other things to get your sleep again, but that is something that certainly does help. So I'm very conscientious of vitamins and minerals, and I eat 2 meals a day. That's it. I don't snack.
Right. You do the intermittent fasting.
Yes, I do intermittent fasting. So I will go, anywhere from 16 to 18 hours not eating at all and won't even feel it. Don't even feel it. Like
Yeah, it's something. It does take a little while to get used to, but it is something you can do. So you eat between what window?
I eat between like today's first meal was about 1 o'clock
Right.
in the afternoon. And then I ate right before this, but I didn't eat anything in between. And so I won't eat again until about the same time tomorrow. So that's about 16 to 18
that takes
hours.
some getting used to too, because especially if you were one of those who was under the belief that you could eat multiple small meals a day.
Yeah.
If you were to go from that to what you did, that is a huge change of an empty stomach for a long period of time. But you can get used to it. I do closer to that too, because I'll eat dinner like around 6 or whatever, and then I may not eat any real food again until 11, 12 o'clock.
Right.
Next day. I had to get back to that. I had to get, when I got sick, I kind of had to get off of that little routine, but I'm starting to get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, the key to intermittent fasting is fats. Because the reason why you crash when you don't eat is because of sugar.
Right.
So when you're in ketosis, your energy levels and everything is fine. All your levels are fine. So you don't feel that. Well, people typically have a mood change, you know what I mean? When you're hungry and you feel drained and all that kind of stuff. No, you don't feel that at all. That's what I mean. It's just consistent energy all the time. You're just steady, And so you might feel like, I know I'm hungry, but I honestly don't care. You know what I mean? I could eat, I could not eat. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the fasting is also conducive to growth hormone. So growth hormone and plus from the fasting plus from sleep growth hormone plus the little bit of protein you are getting, well, moderate amount of protein that you are getting, it's muscle sparing. So your body's not consuming your muscle for sugar,
Right.
whatever that is,
Insulin.
what is it? Something nucleogenesis or whatever, the process where it turns
You got me there.
turns protein into glucose, so the body can have fuel. So people who try to do fasting, in other words, but are not in ketosis, their body is going to eat muscle. It needs to be eating fat, so you got to get fat adapted, and that's what it means to be in a state of ketosis. Your body is fat adapted.
Right.
Plus, as a dude, I don't want to think about eating. You know what I mean? Like my son Joe, who is on the carnivore diet.
Right.
So he's eating.
That's
Yeah, dude. I finally had to get it. I had to buy an additional freezer.
Oh, okay. So how long has he been on this?
He's been on this for a long time, months and months and months.
Really?
Yeah. So he has his, he'll get some of his meat at the store. He'll have some delivered. He has all kinds of meat type stuff, and he cooks his own stuff. Eats about 2 meals a day. That's it. He's in ketosis, because of it. But I finally had to get a freezer because between our stuff and my daughter's stuff and mine and his, we were loading out the freezer side of the refrigerator. So I had to buy a whole nother freezer just for him to put. But because he eats grass fed, so everything I eat is all organic or grass fed.
Right.
I don't want all the hormones and all that other preservatives or all that other bullshit in my meat or food. But, dude, you get that dialed in, and you will feel amazing.
Man, I tell you what, the carnivore diet sounds badass. It just sounds like there's no way you couldn't like it. If you're a meat eater, if you're a meat and potatoes kind of guy,
just don't eat the potatoes.
just don't eat potatoes. But I'm saying if you're a meat and potatoes kind of guy, the carnivore diet would be an easy transition because you just drop the potatoes.
That's right. Yeah, he loves it because he'll be sitting down there eating a huge ribeye and like 4 eggs.
Yeah,
But
sounds great.
But he's doing it, for the same reason I am, in another sense, because we're just dudes and we don't want to go through all. I got Lizzie who's constantly experimenting with awesome recipes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they drive you crazy. And she's got this thing made of chaffles, and it's like chocolate, and there's whipped cream on there, and there's chocolate sauce on there, and there's chocolate chips on there. And then she says it's keto.
That is, dude. Sherry's doing a keto diet, and I know what it is. It's it's like the chia pudding or some shit that she's eating right now.
The chia, yeah. My daughter used to eat a lot of that. But I've made those chaffle type dishes before, and it's, you are using cocoa, you're using Truvia, which is a stevia product, which is a good sugar. It's a sugar replacement. You'll have your egg in there. You'll have the whipped cream is actually just heavy whipping cream whipped up with more of that Truvia, and tastes just like whipped cream. And then it's these Lily's chocolate chips, which are dark chocolate chips, and there's barely no sugar in them. And so you're looking at this cake with, and then I also got Choc Zero. I ordered Choc Zero, which is a sugar-free, stevia-flavored chocolate syrup. There's no sugar in this stuff. I got this stuff called Catalina Crunch, and it's Oreo cookies. And it's like 2 grams of sugar per 2 cookies. And it tastes just like Oreos. I'll have one on occasion. It doesn't do anything to me, but I'll have one on occasion. But
So when Joe does his carnivore thing, are there ever any vegetables or anything like that involved at all on occasion?
No, there are no vegetables, but he has to supplement then, for example, the absence of potassium.
Yeah, right.
So all the minerals and stuff he drinks some concoctions with apple cider vinegar and a lemon juice, organic lemon juice, and then he has the like the little it's like a salt, potassium salt. So we also use Himalayan salt, that kind of stuff, and that way you're getting your essential minerals, because your body will freak out if you don't get those electrolytes, man, and those minerals. But yeah, Joe's got it down. He'll tell you how he does it.
I remember watching Joe Rogan, and he'd done it for 30 days, and he was like, well, first couple of weeks, man, my stomach was upset. He goes, but once I got past that, man, he goes, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good. They say it's almost like starting at ground zero if you're having stomach problems. If you eliminate everything and just basically eat protein and meat, and then find out then start to add. If you want to add vegetables back in, you can slowly add a vegetable back in and see if that vegetable is the one that's not making you feel well or whatever. If you have like those issues we were talking about earlier where people can't eat every vegetable under the sun.
Right.
But they're not quite sure which one it is that makes them feel like shit. It's kind of resets your bacteria in your gut. There was one reason they say the carnivore diet was a good thing to do if you're actually having issues.
You know what, dude? I think, and I haven't thought about this till now. You should seriously consider it because it is a shortcut to the keto diet. Because you're going to be in ketosis.
Right.
You know what I mean? I checked Joe's levels. I used my blood test ketone level.
Here, son, pee on this.
Yeah. I was like, pee on this. But I tested his levels, dude. He was 1.9, which is ketosis begins at 0.5 millimole, and he was at 1.9. So he's in ketosis. So that means he said, Dad, I sleep better. I don't have certain pain, joint pain. All inflammation goes down. All that stuff goes down. Gut issues get dealt with. So you might consider that, dude, because that way you don't have to run any risks of the other crap because, of the other foods you might be eating with a keto diet that could potentially cause you problems.
Mm-hmm.
Be a meat eater. We saw carnivore years ago.
I got the T-shirt.
Life comes full circle, bro.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I would seriously think about this, guys. And then when it comes to training, if you guys can get out and actually lift some weight, I know the gyms are not necessarily open, but whatever you can do, if you could do some compound movements meaning that they involve multiple body parts. In other words, not just doing isolation exercises, but doing, things that involve, multiple body parts and just start to build up your overall health. Like I go to the grocery store, and I see old people walking around. And once you get past your 50s, man, once you get into your 50s, you start looking at the old people.
Yeah.
And you're going, okay, where are they at? How's life going? How fast are they moving?
Yeah, you're much closer to that end of the spectrum than you are.
Oh, yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah. So, I'll often see them kind of bent over, and moving slow. And so you think, okay, well, muscle and all these things will deteriorate. You will atrophy over time. If you're not regularly building in mass, not like a bodybuilder, but I mean having that muscle mass and doing compound movements and moving in all different ways, what they call that transverse plane of motion, because that's where you get injured, right? It's you twisted the wrong way, you pick something up the wrong way, you reach the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so body has to get used to these kind of movements and keeping yourself, as Max says, motion is lotion, and you don't want
that's not how I thought it went.
It was lotion before motion.
They say there's certain they determine. I read this a long time ago, so I'm probably going to not say this very well, but they determine the health of a society based on hip injuries in the elderly, because once elderly people fall down and they get that hip injury, it seems to be the downfall of their health.
Right.
And there's always that one grandma fell and broke her hip.
Right.
It happens constantly, and they base that a lot, on the health of a specific societies when they're looking at different cultures.
Right.
And they have less bone damage, osteoporosis, less hip breakage, things like that is actually a thing.
Right. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, the pains that you have, are typically the result of some form of inflammation.
Right.
And diet is going to be a huge fix for a lot of these things. Yeah. Because sugar and all of this stuff, insulin is the killer. Yeah. And so people are becoming pre-diabetic. Diabetes is off the charts, dude. And so now they basically consider Alzheimer's, dementia as type 3 diabetes.
Yep, I've heard that.
Because my father died of dementia.
Yeah.
And so you start thinking, dude, is that genetic? Is that, Did that jackass pass that down to me? you know, um,
Don't remember.
I don't remember. Who is my dad? If I could just remember who my dad was, I'd tell you more about him. But anyway, I do remember he had dementia. Um, that's sad. I mean, it's a sad thing to watch. But, they're basically considering now that type 3 diabetes is
Yeah.
dementia and what's the other one? Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So you have every reason in the world, ladies and gentlemen, every reason in the world to get your health and fitness together. And yes, it's daily. Yes, it's a routine and a habit you have to get into. And I know you failed in the past, but you're not going to fail. All you have to do is worry about tomorrow. Worry about today.
Appreciate the daily grind.
The daily grind. Learn to celebrate it. Embrace the suck, as they say.
Yeah.
I had one more slide here, Matt. Todd. Quoting so much Mac here, I'm calling him Mac. Conquer the next 24 hours, and you can conquer your life. That's pretty much what I just said. You just got to win the next day. The consequences of our lives are the sum total of two things: the decisions we make and what we do with our time. Everyone gets the same 24 hours, so at the end of the day, the prize goes to whomever made the best use of it.
I always love that line. Everyone gets the same 24 hours.
Yeah.
But everyone treats it differently. And everyone thinks, oh, if I only had the time, if I only had that, it just depends on what you do with it because, yeah, it's the same 24 hours for everybody.
Yeah, and I think, it's just a change in your beliefs, change in the way you see your everyday. Learn to celebrate that the next 24 hours goes into shaping your future, goes into shaping the life that you've always wanted to live and create, and being serious about your calling in life, being serious about what your potential is. Take it seriously, because nobody's going to do it for you. We know that. But again, bro, so many, they resign themselves. It's comfortable. That's why I always say, when your discomfort is comfortable enough for you to tolerate the rest of your life, that's when you settle. But you didn't used to be that way. Somehow you got to where you are. Even though it might be uncomfortable now, it was more uncomfortable before.
Yeah.
So, it's just gotten to the place where the discomfort is comfortable enough. So you're just going to stay where you are. Again, you're not breaking any laws, man. Nobody's going to throw you in jail for that. Don't feel guilty or bad about it. But I hope there's something calling in you, something beckoning you to something greater, a voice in the back of your mind that never goes to sleep. It always says, there's something else. There's something more. And how I get there starts with today. It starts with this next 24 hours. Everybody gets the same. So what am I doing with mine? I think if you ever sat down, we did this a long time ago, but if you sat down for a week and you got a piece of paper and mapped out your whole day in 15-minute increments. So 7 columns, Monday through Sunday, right? And 15-minute increments. And you wrote in those little fields what you did during that 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed at how much time was wasted.
Oh, yeah.
Huge. And you got to do it honestly, though. Even if it's just you seeing it. But be honest about it. You'd be like, damn, I spent... But your phone will do some of it. Your phone will tell you how much time you were on social media. It'll tell you how much time you were on your phone.
2 hours and 30 minutes and shit.
2 hours and 30 minutes. But in the last 30 minutes, you're like, how did that happen? That's not even possible. But that's it, man. It's the power of your daily grind, and that's metal on metal. And it's a great way to live, man. I rejoice because as of late, I've said to a buddy of mine who I love spending time with, but every time he hit me up to see what I was doing, I'm like, dude, I got a live stream tonight. I got a coaching squad I got to do tonight. I got to do this tonight. No, I got that Saturday afternoon. Granted, you can't live like that all the time, man. I know that. But it's nice to be able to say, you know, things are happening. Irons are in the fire. The grass is not growing underneath my feet.
Well, I mean, if nothing else comes out of this, it's just the concept of the daily grind, appreciating the daily grind. I think that's easy enough for people to remember. If you can just
remember that, and everything we said about
Tuesday,
and everything we
favorite
said
day.
and everything we said about nutrition, you can remember all of that.
Yeah.
Plus,
if you can remember this, you can go right now and have a steak and like 6 eggs. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, right? Yeah, it's the candy
Get nothing
bar.
out of it.
It's the candy bar and the cookie and the bread and the pasta and the chips and the muffins and the Cinnabons and the bagels and the toast, and it's all that crap.
And the cruciferous vegetables for some of us.
That's right. But you know, a lot of food companies are making tremendous alternatives. Like I said, I got my kid cereal. My kid eats cereal, and it's the great cereal. It's called by Catalina Crunch, the same people who do the Oreo cookies. Mm-hmm. They got killer flavors, man. From chocolates to like a golden graham to all of that stuff, loaded with protein and nutrients and all that kind of stuff. Minimal carbs, no sugar, tastes awesome. And she's already used now to drinking almond milk. So to her, that's just like regular milk.
Right.
And yeah, and she'll take the Choco Zero stuff with, you know, which is the Truvia flavored, Truvia sweetened chocolate syrup. And she'll make chocolate milk and.
I got to check out that cereal too. I used to eat a lot of cereal back in the day, and I have not eaten cereal in so damn long.
Yeah, yeah. Normally cereal's terrible for you. I loved it. I miss those days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's especially when you're like at night and you're hungry after dinner, whatever. A couple hours later.
Yeah, it's such a good go-to easy thing.
Yeah, yeah.
With cow milk. You know,
you're right.
Which I haven't had. I can't tell you the last time I had a glass of just
homogenized.
Oh yeah, homogenized.
But yeah, you know, I'm amazed at how resilient our bodies are with the crap that we put in them over the years of our lives, and yet we still stand. But lest we make things worse for anything, financially, relationally, everything can change for you tomorrow. You know, being nicer to your spouse, you know, helping out, you know, nicer to the kids, building them up, encouraging them. Stop being a sourpuss all the time. Stop being in such a damn mood all the time. Stop trying to control everybody with your damn moods all the time. You know, start to read something instead of having to watch things all the time. Just start on a book. Read a chapter a day, man. You know, start to learn to exercise your mind. Take a walk. Take a fast-paced walk, and then just do some sit-ups and some push-ups. You know, just simple things. Just do little things for the relationships. Maybe start working on paying off your debts. Pay off that lowest debt, and then roll it over to pay off the next debt and get yourself out of debt. Start paying yourself. Dave Ramsey. Start paying yourself 10% of your income. Start to save a little money. You know, little things. You can do all of these things starting tomorrow. Tomorrow morning can begin a brand new version of you. You 2.0 can start tomorrow. If you weren't such a lazy bastard.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like we were saying earlier, just start with something. You don't have to do it all tomorrow and say, I'm just, here's what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm dropping this. I'm cutting this out. I'm going to start doing this.
Yeah. Don't do too much. No.
Too much. No. You'll fail that way.
Little changes, man. First of all, be a better person to yourself, a better person to those closest to you. That's the first two things you can do. Be a sweetheart, even if you're not used to being a sweetheart. Be nice. Be nice. Yeah. Serve. Help out. Be kind. New habits to learn for a lot of people, but you can learn them. Can't be a douche your whole life. And then, you know, just a little bit. Start cutting stuff back, man.
Yeah.
And then get you a little
Get your firearm.
Get you a P365 or something. You kill somebody tries to come in and take your Fruit Loops.
They can have the Fruit Loops as long as they don't take my Catalina Crunch.
Don't take my steak and eggs, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Todd, you should talk when you talk to Joe about the video if you haven't done that already. He'll talk to you about what he does for the keto. He's got that stuff down, dude.
Yeah.
He's got
Awesome.
it down. He's serious. So anyway, we haven't paid any attention to our wonderful people who've sat with us here tonight. But I thank all of you for being here. Lisa, Gary, Monir, he's been commenting left and right. Stan, Sherry, Sam, Jonathan, my man. Good people, man. So,
We got them all we got them all talking about diet and inflammation and all that kind of stuff. Too.
everybody's checking their inflammation.
Make sure you have the right inflammation.
Call inflammation if you need more info. Call inflammation.
Conflammation.
All right. So Todd Pack, anything else?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, man.
I'm fucking hungry now,
You're
but it's too late.
fresh out of steak. Intermittent fasting. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being with us. We'll be back next Monday. Will you be available, Todd, next Monday?
I got to check my calendar, but I think it's open.
So 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 7 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you say Standard Time because we're in the spring and summer months. So don't say, no, we say Daylight Time, PDT.
Daylight.
PDT and, I have PDT. PDT and EDT. Eastern Daylight Time, Pacific Daylight Time is the actual. But Eastern, Pacific, Central, Mountain, whatever it is. 8 o'clock in my world.
Yeah, 8 o'clock on the East Coast.
8 o'clock on the East Coast.
Figure it out on your own after that.
All right, y'all. Todd, you stay on. But remember,
Good night, everybody.
remember, whatever you do, Todd,
Don't suck.
Metal
Saddle up.
up.